The year is 2025. The world watches as the United States, under the leadership of President Donald Trump, embarks on an unprecedented wave of protectionist economic policies. Central to this new era is the aggressive use of tariffs, essentially taxes on imported goods, designed to shield American industries from foreign competition. This bold approach, while touted as a remedy for trade imbalances and a revitalization strategy for American manufacturing, has unleashed a maelstrom of economic uncertainty both domestically and on the global stage. This essay delves into the heart of this economic storm, examining the justifications, impacts, and potential ramifications of President Trump's tariff policies. It analyzes the administration's rationale, focusing on concerns over trade deficits and the decline of American manufacturing. It dissects the immediate consequences on the U.S. economy, including its effect on GDP growth, inflation rates, and overall market volatility. Furthermore, it explores the international repercussions, highlighting retaliatory measures taken by other nations and the potential for a global trade war. This analysis also amplifies the voices of dissent and concern, examining the political and corporate backlash against these protectionist measures. Key figures in government and industry have voiced their apprehension, warning of potentially devastating consequences for the American and global economies. The essay concludes by weighing the initial goals of these policies against the observed outcomes, providing a balanced perspective on the efficacy and sustainability of President Trump's economic strategy. Section 2. The Tariff Hammer Falls, a Timeline of Protectionism. The year 2025 has witnessed a dramatic escalation of tariff measures implemented by the Trump administration. This escalation, characterized by its breadth and intensity, has sent shockwaves through global markets and left businesses scrambling to adapt. The initial tremor was felt on April 2nd, with a tariff hike that significantly raised the average effective tariff rate to nearly 23%. This move, justified as a necessary response to what the administration deemed unfair trade practices, signaled a decisive shift towards protectionism. The aftershocks were swift and impactful. On April 5th, a sweeping 10% tariff on all imported goods came into effect, casting a wide net over international trade. Just 4 days later, the administration further tightened the screws, imposing new duties on goods from a staggering 185 countries. This escalation culminated in a heavy blow aimed at China, with a 50% tariff levied on Chinese imports, significantly escalating the ongoing trade tensions between the two economic giants. While a 90-day pause on reciprocal tariffs for most countries offered a glimmer of hope for de-escalation, the damage had been done. The world watched with bated breath as the trade war drums continued to beat, leaving businesses and economies bracing for further uncertainty and disruption. Section 3. The American economy braces for impact: GDP, inflation, and uncertainty. The immediate impact of the 2025 tariff hikes is being felt across the American economy, with businesses and consumers alike grappling with the consequences of this new trade landscape. One of the most significant concerns is the potential drag on U.S. GDP growth. Economists predict a reduction of 1.4% in 2025, a significant departure from the projected 1.9% growth prior to the implementation of these tariffs. This slowdown can be attributed to several factors. Firstly, tariffs act as a tax on imports, making them more expensive for American consumers. This increased cost is likely to dampen consumer spending, a key driver of economic growth. Secondly, American businesses that rely on imported production inputs, which account for approximately 50% of all imports, face higher costs. These higher costs are often passed on to consumers in the form of higher prices, further fueling inflationary pressures. Indeed, inflation is another major concern stemming from these tariffs. Despite assurances from the U.S. Trade Representative, economists warn that these measures will inevitably lead to rising prices. This prediction is rooted in the basic economic principle of supply and demand. As tariffs restrict the supply of imported goods, prices are likely to rise, eroding consumer purchasing power and potentially leading to a decline in living standards. Adding to the economic unease is the specter of increased market volatility. The uncertainty surrounding the future of global trade relations has already sent shockwaves through financial markets. These shockwaves manifest as wild swings in stock prices, making it difficult for businesses to plan for the future and potentially hindering investment and growth. Section 4. Retaliation and Ripples. The global trade web under strain. The reverberations of President Trump's tariff policies extend far beyond American shores, sending shockwaves through the interconnected global economy. As the U.S. erects trade barriers, other nations have responded in kind, imposing retaliatory tariffs on American goods. This tit-for-tat escalation of protectionist measures has raised the specter of a full-blown global trade war, a scenario with potentially devastating consequences for all involved. The impact of these retaliatory tariffs is being felt most acutely in specific sectors and regions, heavily reliant on trade with the United States. Global GDP growth projections have been revised downwards, with estimates ranging from a negative 0.1% to negative 0.3% contraction for most countries. However, some nations, like Vietnam, face a more dire outlook, with projections indicating a potential GDP slump exceeding negative 6%. This interconnectedness underscores the fragility of the global trade web, and the potential for localized shocks to cascade across borders. The uncertainty generated by these trade disputes can lead to a decline in business investment, as companies become wary of expanding operations in an unstable trade environment. Furthermore, the escalating tensions can erode consumer confidence, leading to decreased spending and further slowing economic activity. The potential for these ripple effects to escalate into a full-blown global trade war is a significant concern for economists and policymakers worldwide. Such a scenario could have far-reaching consequences, disrupting global supply chains, stifling innovation, and ultimately leading to a decline in living standards for people around the world. As Trump's policies began to take shape, political and corporate backlash soon followed. Critics argued that the tax cuts favored the wealthy and increased the national debt. Many corporations, while initially benefiting from lower taxes, faced public scrutiny for not passing on the benefits to their employees. The political landscape became increasingly polarized, with debates raging over the long-term sustainability of these economic strategies. In the midst of this turmoil, questions about the true impact of these policies on the average American continued to surface. The conversation was far from over, and the nation watched closely as the effects unfolded. During Trump's tenure, the trade deficit became a central focus. The administration aimed to reduce it through tariffs and renegotiated trade deals. However, the deficit actually grew, reaching record highs. Manufacturing, a key sector Trump promised to revive, faced mixed outcomes. While some jobs were brought back, others were lost due to the complex global supply chains and retaliatory tariffs from trading partners. The goals of Trump's economic policies were clear boost. American manufacturing reduced the trade deficit and protect domestic industries. But the fallout was significant. Tariffs led to higher costs for American consumers and businesses. Farmers in particular were hit hard by retaliatory tariffs, leading to increased subsidies from the government to offset their losses. The question remains, did the benefits outweigh the costs? The trade policies under Trump created a tangled web of economic consequences. While some industries benefited from protective measures, others struggled under the weight of increased costs and disrupted supply chains. The renegotiation of trade deals like NAFTA being replaced by the USMCA brought some stability, but the overall impact of these policies is still a matter of debate among economists. Trump's economic legacy is one of significant disruption. His policies challenged the status quo, bringing both positive and negative changes. The long-term effects of these disruptions are still unfolding, influencing current and future economic strategies. Whether seen as a bold move towards American economic independence or a series of missteps, Trump's economic policies have undeniably left a lasting impact on the nation's economic landscape.